In this video, I'm going to take you through 5 unique sound design tips, and I guarantee that at least one of them you haven't heard of before. Thank you to Flexispot for sponsoring this video. Let's jump on in. So for this video, make sure that you are wearing some headphones or that you have some really good monitor speakers, because it's going to really help to follow along with this video. So my very first tip is to pretty much just not take these sound effects just as they are, but rather modify them to properly suit your needs. So for example, you can download these sound effects from wherever you'd like, but let's say we take this whoosh here. If I drag it onto my timeline, I have a little speed ramp here just to show off this whoosh, so we can take a look at the speed ramp. Looks like it's just coming out of the left channel, so let's quickly change that track type to mono. And just a quick little highlight here, this Motion Blur Pro transition adds that creamy motion blur for speed ramps. You can find that in my store, link in the description. Let's go back to the sound effects here. This whoosh just doesn't feel great. So first things first, obviously we can retime it a little bit. So let's maybe increase the speed so that it matches the motion a little bit better. But this is where the biggest changes are going to come in. So you can change the pitch of the sound effect to just give it a different feel. So you can make it a little bit lower, just like so. Which already does a whole lot, but a technique that I find works a whole lot better is adding an equalizer to the sound effects to just pull out the frequencies that you want to hear. Something that I often do to make my sound effects a little bit more impactful is to add some more bass and pretty much reduce the highs, because specifically whooshes or risers, most of them have a lot of highs, but not so much bass. So let's just sort of change that up a little bit. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to take my B2, which is already enabled. We can leave it on the shelf, and I'm just going to drag up the bass right around here. So I'm just taking the left half of the audio frequency and lifting it up, which is all your bass frequencies. Then I'm going to take my 5 and drop them on the right side and have an equalizer that sort of looks just like so. Now, before we play this back, there's a little bit of a bug in DaVinci Resolve right now that these equalizer effects don't take place unless you change the volume. I hope Blackmagic Design fixes this really fast, but pretty much all you need to do is you can just turn it up and down a little bit, and then you'll hear those differences. Wow, do you hear the difference in that whoosh? So that's one. Let me just duplicate this and drop it below so that you guys can hear the difference. In this one, I'm going to turn the equalizer off, just like so. So here we have the original. High pitched, it's okay. It doesn't sound super impactful. It doesn't sound super cinematic to me. Now let's take a look at our second version. Wow, that's just like a deep whoosh. And that's something that I like to do to a lot of my sound effects. And this works with all different types of sound effects and not just whooshes. So if I take something like this, that's just a metal latch closing. It's not bad, but it has a lot of high frequencies. So again, if we just apply a very similar equalizer, bring up our B2, drop down our B5, just like so. And then again, make sure that you just change the volume. This will be fixed soon, I hope. Now we just have a deeper just instead of like a high-pitched latch sound. So for the next tip, I wouldn't be surprised if you've already heard of the reverb tail that people add to songs, pretty much to just add sort of an end to a song wherever you want. Now, that technique is also super useful when it comes to sound design. So specifically this clip right here, we have the shot of the railing, and I like to sort of add this ticking sound to sort of pretend like we're sort of rubbing along that railing right there and adding some metal tick sounds. So I have this fast ticking sound effect, and if we drag that onto our timeline just like so, it does not sound good at all. So we're going to have to add some modifications to this. So first off, let's slow down the ticking sound effect to maybe around 68, just so that it's a little bit slower. That's a whole lot better. And let's only play it for sort of the first third of the clip right here. Now, this is important. We're going to go right click and turn it into a compound clip. Open that in another timeline, just like so. Then I'm going to hold Alt and I'm going to drag this clip down and over to the right. And I'm going to drag this to around 8 seconds right here. And I'm going to mute this second track. Pretty much what we've just done, if we go back to the timeline, if we now extend this clip, we have just this empty space inside of our sound effect, which just lets the reverb tail on a little bit longer. Let's drag this to the end of our clip. Let's go into effects, audio effects, and then scroll down until you find reverb and drag it on. Now with these settings, you can modify them to how you like it. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to increase the reverb time a little bit. I'm going to turn down my high frequency, down my high gain, and maybe I'll make it a little bit less wet, just like so. And now if we play this back, we have something that sounds a whole lot better and it feels a whole lot more organic in the scene. Let's just compare it to the original sound effect here. So let's drag this just below. We won't do any retiming to it. So again, this is our original. And now this is our enhanced sound effect. feels a whole lot more cinematic. Now, I could do a whole lot more adjusting. I probably wouldn't have it that loud in the actual video, and it would be mastered in with some additional music to the shot. So it would still sound a whole lot better, but this definitely just shows you how far you can take these sound effects. Okay, now I want to take a quick second to shout out today's video sponsor, Flexispot. Now, if you're like me, sometimes you're editing for up to 8, sometimes even 12 hours per day. It can get pretty ridiculous, and that's where a good posture is incredibly important to reduce your neck strain and just be comfortable while you're doing your work. So a while back, Flexispot sent me their C7 Max for me to try out, and I already had a pretty ergonomic chair, but this was still a huge upgrade. The biggest upgrade was properly adjusting my posture. Now, my old chair was an ergonomic chair, but the lumbar support on the chair didn't move at all. Whereas this chair, it moves up and down so that I can perfectly place the lumbar support where I need to, and my back is actually in the correct position it needs to be to reduce strain. The other thing is I always get a sore neck from editing, but the headrest in this chair just lines my body up perfectly so that I can still see my monitors. It's also a fully articulating headrest. Now, something that sets this chair above the rest of the competition is its footrest. Now, there's a footrest that pulls out right out of the bottom, and it's so comfortable that I've actually brought this chair out to my living room and watched movies sitting in this chair. Pull out the footrest, I flip the chair back and lean back, and it's literally like laying on a bed. That's how comfortable it is. And another thing I genuinely love is the 5D armrests. They are fully articulating armrests, and I've never seen a chair that has so much customization. Now, on top of the adjustable 3D headset, the adjustable back height, and the adjustable armrests, the chair also lets you move the seat in and out. So for people that are a little bit taller like myself, I don't have to sit on a tiny portion of the seat. I can actually extend it out further to give myself a little bit more room to sit. So if you want to check out this chair for yourself, there's a discount code down below in the description, C730, to get yourself an additional $30 off the chair. Now, it also comes with a 30-day return policy, so you can try it out risk-free, as well as it comes with a 10-year warranty, so you're going to be set for the long term. As well, don't forget to check out their Black Friday sales on their store, as you'll be able to enjoy significant discounts during this season. Additionally, Flexispot has some other chairs they offer, as well as the new C7 Morpher, which just gives you a more upgraded lumbar back support. So you can check that out as well once you're on their website. All right, let's get back to the video. Okay, now for the third tip, we're gonna switch it up a little bit and we're gonna actually talk about vocals. Now, I film a lot of real estate. Obviously, we're showing some real estate clips here. And often we're talking in an unstaged house in a terribly sound-treated room. All we have is blank walls, blank ceilings, and blank floors. So there is a ton of reverb, and this is by far the best way to fix it. So let's take a look at this clip here.
As well as all the updates that have been completed over the last few years. For example, there's brand new LED lighting all throughout this level.
There is a ridiculous amount of reverb, and I've tried every single way inside of DaVinci Resolve to try fix this, but this is the best solution I've found. So we do have to go to the Fairlight page, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into Effects, and then we're gonna go into Restoration, VST, and apply Clarity VX De-Reverb Mono. Now, this is the only paid feature that I'm gonna go through today, but it is just so good that I had to show you. Now, I will say with Black Friday right now, it is on sale. So regular, it's $129 US, but right now it's on sale for $29 US, which is a steal of a deal. And it's an incredibly valuable tool. It works for scenarios like this, where you're in an empty house, but also for myself, because my room is not treated. And this is what the original audio sounds like. Not very good, but with the effect turned on, it sounds a whole lot better. So let me show you how it works inside of this clip right here. So when you apply it, you're gonna have this pop-up right here, and you can change a bunch of settings, but I'm not gonna go through it in detail right now. I'm just gonna show you the best settings for myself. I'm gonna select this dropdown, go to Dialogue, and remove Reverb 2. I'm gonna leave this all the way cranked up, just like so. And now if we play this clip back.
As well as all the updates that have been completed over the last few years. For example, there's brand new LED lighting all throughout this level.
That sounds a whole lot better. Let's maybe reduce it just a little bit because it's starting to sound a little bit unnatural.
As well as all the updates that have been completed over the last few years.
And let's just listen to the difference before and after, because there is a ton of reverb in this room and there is a huge difference.
As well as all the updates that have been completed over the last few years. For example, there's brand new LED lighting all throughout this level.
So obviously there's a huge difference. It sounds like a ton of reverb in the room to pretty much just a shotgun microphone stuffed right in his face, and it sounds like good audio.
Over the last few years. For example, there's brand new LED lighting all throughout this level, as well as all the updates that have been completed.
And again, this is only with one effect applied. Obviously, we could add some EQ, some de-essers, some multiband compression, all of the other stuff to make his voice sound even better. But this just makes a huge difference right off the bat and gets you super crystal clear audio. All right, and now for tip number 4, this tip has to do with music and balancing vocals and music. And this is the best workflow that I find works really well for myself. So let's grab a song here. We'll grab this guy right here and drag it onto the timeline. Now we've dragged our music below our audio, and let's just take a listen. We obviously can't hear anything because we've done no mixing at all. So there's a couple different ways that you could do this. You could keyframe the audio, but I find that if you need to change it in the future, then you're dealing with 2 keyframes and it's a little bit messy to move around. So the way that I'm going to do this is, let's say I want my music volume to be at full volume or close to full volume when the actual B-roll starts of whatever video I'm doing. So at that point, I'm going to make a cut in the clip by hitting Control B. Now, personally, I always bring my music down to about -5 decibels because I don't want it to be much louder than my vocals are. And then this other clip, I'm going to hold Alt and press the down arrow to just drag it on down to its own timeline. Now, with this clip, to just make it balance a whole lot better with a vocal speaking in the song, first things first is we need to remove the vocals from the song. Now, you do need the DaVinci Resolve paid studio feature to do this. If you don't have that, you can just skip this step. But we're going to go into AI Music Remixer and bring down the voice by about -20 decibels. Then I'm going to go down to the equalizer and I'm going to grab bell number 4, which is right here. And around 1,500 hertz, I'm just going to drag this down by about -15 to -20 decibels. So maybe somewhere right around there. And that's just going to allow for the vocal to not compete with the song. Now, we do still need to turn down the song a little bit, but not by that much. Let's maybe drag it down by around -16. And now let's play this back.
As well as all the updates that have been completed over the last few years. For example, there's brand new LED lighting all throughout this level.
Now that music is still a little bit loud, so let's bring it down to maybe about -21.
As well as all the updates that have been completed over the last few years. For example, there's brand new LED lighting all throughout this level.
Okay, so that is good. We've definitely made a huge improvement, and I just want to show you the before and after of the minor adjustments that we did. So,
as well as all the updates that have been completed over the last few years. For example, there's brand new LED lighting.
So obviously the vocal in the music is now competing with his voice. So let's turn that back on because that definitely makes a big difference.
As well as all the updates that have been completed over the last few years. For example, there's brand...
You'll still find that the music frequencies now still compete with his voice. So now if we turn on the equalizer.
As well as all the updates that have been completed over the last few years. For example, there's brand new LED lighting all throughout.
That just gives a little bit more space for his vocals to breathe. Now, we could increase this Q factor to around there and give even more space, but you will find that the song sounds a little bit muddied, which is not the end of the world when it's a background song.
As well as all the updates that have been completed over the last few years. For example, there's brand new LED lighting also.
There's definitely a pretty big difference. Now, this is where it comes into the keyframing and not doing keyframing because I actually don't like to do that keyframing. We can actually delete the second clip because I never ended up using it. So pretty much how I'd fade on this new song is instead of keyframing it, I would just grab these handles right at the top of the clip and fade them on just like so. Now, this clip is quiet enough that you don't really even need to fade it out. But for safe measure, we are going to go ahead and fade that out just like so. But I'm going to fade that out a little bit later so that our song doesn't go into a dip at all. Now let's just listen to this transition.
For example, there's brand new LED lighting all throughout this level.
So now we just have a natural rise in the music and we didn't have to do any manual keyframing because now if we need to adjust this, let's say we want the music to increase over here instead of where it is right now, we can literally just drag this over just like so, and we didn't have to add any more keyframes, go into our keyframes, turn off keyframes or anything like that. I just find that it's a whole lot faster of a workflow. Okay, so let's jump into tip number 5. Now, this one's a little bit different than the rest, and it's going to require a little bit of setup, but it's savable so you can always repeat it in the future. Just like the music, sometimes we want to reduce the frequencies that compete with a subject's voice. So let's say in this video, I sort of have this renovation video for this real estate house here, and I have a whole bunch of sound effects and I have a realtor talking at the same time, and I don't want those sound effects to compete with his voice. So I sort of want to apply that same equalizer that we did earlier to these sound effects. So I want to drag it down by around 1.5 thousand. Maybe not as extreme with sound effects, but I still want to do it. How do I do it to every single sound effect in my timeline and make those adjustments cohesive across the entire timeline? Now, I'm going to show you how to do that, and we're going to be using buses on the Fairlight page. So the first thing that you're going to have to do is go into the Fairlight up top, click bus format, and add a new bus. I'm going to rename this bus sound effects and hit OK. Now on all of the tracks that have sound effects, which for me is audio 2 through 8, and then the last one is music right here, I'm going to change the bus output so that it's going to sound effects instead of bus 1, which is sort of just your master output. So to do that per clip, so let's go into audio track 2, let's drop down here and click SFX. Same thing with the next, and let's do that 2 through 8. Okay, so let's take a listen now.
Suited property is located.
And now we can't hear our sound effects at all. And that's because our sound effects bus is not going anywhere. So we need to send our sound effects bus somewhere as well, which is the second bus that showed up right here. So we need to send this bus output to bus 1. And now pretty much what's happening is our sound effects are going into the sound effects bus, and then the sound effects bus is going into the master bus or bus 1 and going to your master output. But now in this bus right here, this sound effects bus that we just created, we can make any adjustments that are going to be global to all of our sound effects. So let's just go in here. We could reduce the volume of all of our sound effects
From the iconic Lethbridge Coolies
with just one slider. But more importantly, now we can go into the equalizer, drop this down by 1.5 thousand. And now we've just brought down the sound effects in the vocal range to make the realtor's voice sound more clear, but still have loud sound effects at the same time. Because we can increase this a little bit now because we've reduced where the realtor is talking. So let's just take a listen to this here.
$1,000.
This suited property is located.
Our sound effects sound impactful and loud. And let's turn this off here. So we're going to turn off our equalizer.
This suited property is located.
Now, the sound effects still sound loud, but they're completely competing with the realtor's voice, which is not what we want. So this is a way to get universal control over all of your sound effects and apply one equalizer to all of those sound effects. Now, you could also do this if you have multiple music tracks or multiple vocal tracks. You could send them to their own bus, and then from that bus, send that to your master output. Because often I'll have 1, 2, or 3 tracks playing music when I'm mixing different songs together, and I still want to apply that same equalizer, but instead of having to do it to each individual clip, I can just do it to one big bus that controls all of those clips. But like I said, this takes a little bit of work to set up every single time. So I'd recommend that you create a project template so that you don't have to repeat this process every single time. And it's just going to remember your Fairlight settings. And if you don't know how to make a project template, you can watch this video right here. And that's going to show you how I save time inside of DaVinci Resolve. And it's also going to show you how to make project templates so that you don't have to waste time setting up things like this every single time. Okay, so I really hope that you guys learned something in this video. Honestly, I haven't really seen any of these tips talked about inside of YouTube on any other channel. So I trust that you guys learned something. And if you have any tips yourself or any future recommendations for videos, make sure that you drop them down below in the comments. As well, thank you again to Flexispot for sponsoring this video. And as always, Jesus loves you. Till next time.